Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Again, we're continuing with the love theme for the month of February, and if you do like these videos, make sure to comment below and I can start implementing more of this type of content in the future. Today we're going to be talking about The Bachelor. It is one of the shows that I have called a guilty pleasure for a long time, but after doing research for this video, I will no longer be calling it that, and I will let you know why at the end of the video. But I really found that there's a lot of interest in this topic right now because the new season just started, but also because it's one of the shows that has been around for a long time and continues to be popular. So today we're going to be getting right into why you are obsessed with The Bachelor. And I want to start off by saying that our generation, or at least since The Bachelor began, was not the beginning of our humans' fascination with gossip, with drama, with love and romance. And evolutionarily speaking, humans have gossiped for as long as science gives us insight into. And it began with gossiping around a campfire, and now it's being cuddled up with a blanket on our couch with a glass of Sauvignon in front of the TV, which could be referred to a global campfire because, interestingly, we can all be gossiping about the same thing. All over the nation, all over the world, we could be talking about The Bachelor. And we are. Every Monday night, The Bachelor seems to be trending on every social media account that I have. And on opening night, the Matt James season had over 4.58 million viewers, which is insane. So I think it's clear that people are obsessed. But why? And that's where the psychological discussion or commentary comes in. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you stick around for the whole video. And I think with that, we can get started. Alright, so I will be discussing 5 different reasons that you are obsessed with The Bachelor. And now this doesn't mean that all of these reasons apply to you, but I'm thinking that at least one will. And I did do a little bit of research on this one by doing some surveys on Twitter, but also by looking at the Bachelor subreddit and going deep into the internet to figure out why people are so obsessed with this show. The first reason is that we as humans are in love with love. And romance has always had a history of catching our attention. Romance novels are almost always the top genre of books. Rom-coms steal our hearts year after year, decade after decade. And I remember being in social psychology, which was one of my first psychology courses I ever took, and we did a poll at the beginning of the class, and I would say 80% of the class was most interested in covering the topic of love and attraction and rejection and that aspect of social psychology. And now this isn't just by fluke. This wasn't a random occurrence that happened in my specific psych class. This is what humans are interested in. And interestingly, the fact that the show ends with a proposal, to me, signifies that it ends with a happily ever after. And even if that relationship does not continue on past even the ending of the show, which honestly not many relationships make it still feels like a happy ending for the viewers. And this is very psychologically important. Research has shown, specifically while looking at romantic novels, that happily ever afters make us more optimistic and make us assume that everything will work out in the end in our own lives. And research into optimism or even just positive expectations has shown that people who are more optimistic about the future are significantly happier than pessimistic individuals. And I do find it interesting that the show is set up in a way that 90% of the time we get that happily ever after. And maybe we are seeking that happily ever after ourselves, and that's what gets me into my second point. Another popular reason that people report enjoying The Bachelor is that they are living vicariously through those love stories. And I don't think it's astounding to note that most of us do want a happily ever after for ourselves. We do want to find that love, that connection with another person. And finding love can be incredibly hard. However, watching The Bachelor is pretty easy. Connected to this as well is that the people on The Bachelor get to travel the world. They get to go to the most luxurious places that you could ever imagine and have the most romantic and beautiful dates that most of us will never have in our lives. And being able to watch that and kind of feel like you are in that moment as well is very appealing to a lot of people. You can also see the consequences of risky behavior without having to deal with them yourself. And this is another interesting reason why some people really love The Bachelor. Often there is one or two contestants that are a little bit more risky than maybe you would be in your day-to-day life. And it's fun to get to watch what happens to her or to him if you are watching The Bachelorette and be able to live through that experience without having to worry about the negative consequences that often do fall on these people. And we get a sense of, thank goodness this isn't me, but it's super fun to watch. And going off of that, this is so fun to watch quote, like any other form of entertainment, The Bachelor is a form of distraction that can really help us forget about our own real lives. Distractions don't have to be a bad thing. They can be about forgetting about our own pain, forgetting about our own stresses in our daily lives, and that is 100% okay. So if you use The Bachelor for a distraction, keep enjoying those Monday nights. Going off of this, it's also much easier to worry about someone else's problems than worry about your own. So if you can watch The Bachelor and worry about who the final rose is going to go to, that's a lot more appealing than worrying about how you're going to solve that problem at work. And from right now, as I'm filming, this was actually the top reason that my Twitter followers watched The Bachelor, which I think is really interesting. It was not the one that I thought was going to be number one, which we will be going into soon, but it was definitely going to be one of my top 3 options that I was thinking were the reasons why people enjoy The Bachelor. The Bachelor can also make us feel a lot better about our mundane life. And I will say this, and if this is not true for you, I am sorry, but I think that most people would agree that a heartbreak on television for the whole world to see is usually a lot more dramatic, a lot more painful than the heartbreaks we experience off of set and in our real and daily lives. And this is sad, but it is relatively true when you look at the scientific research that a lot of people like seeing other people in pain because it makes them feel better about their lives. What I'm talking about is actually called Schadenfreude. And it's a German word that is used within psychology to refer to people who enjoy watching the misfortune of others as long as that misfortune is short-term and not long-lasting. And this is considered a real psychological emotion. A lot of people feel it. Most children feel it, and arguably most adults feel it as well. However, we're a lot better at hiding it, and we're a lot less willing to admit it than children are. And it has been found that people with lower self-esteem do feel Schadenfreude a lot stronger, more intensely, and a lot more frequently. While doing this research, I did find a quote saying that people enjoy The Bachelor for the pain rather than for the love. And I think this point that we enjoy The Bachelor because it makes us feel better about our mundane or even just ordinary life goes into that. Watching somebody get broken up with on television does make us feel better about ourselves because that isn't us. And that is an interesting and I think very relevant point as to why people enjoy watching The Bachelor as much as they do. The 5th and final reason that I think a lot of people like The Bachelor is for the drama. And I do think that this is probably the biggest pull for the series. I think a lot of people love dramas just like we love Grey's Anatomy or This Is Us. This just happens to be a real life drama, which is sometimes a lot more entertaining because we do know that there's at least some element of reality. And there are different reasons as to why we like drama. So I did want to go into this point a little bit more deeper than I did the rest. To begin, at a physiological level, our brains release dopamine and adrenaline when we are witnessing drama. And interestingly, both of those neurotransmitters can actually lead to addiction. And they are the reason that people get addicted to things like nicotine, various other drugs, alcohol. Really, any type of addiction is based on dopamine. And adrenaline, obviously most people have heard of adrenaline junkies. You can be addicted to the release of adrenaline because it makes us feel like we can take on the world. And interestingly, an emotional roller coaster of a dramatic-filled series is just as exciting as a real life roller coaster. Drama also makes us more in touch with our emotions, and anything that is emotional to us is highly memorable and usually something we look forward to. And again, it's because emotions are tied to the release of dopamine, adrenaline, or epinephrine. And the last point that I think is connected to drama is that I think that it makes us more connected to each other. Have you ever noticed that a room will go silent as soon as you start talking about a video you watched or a podcast you listened to about an unsolved crime, mystery, a murder, or anything that contains drama? And this includes The Bachelor. We are evolutionarily prone to like gossip. At one time, it served the very purpose of connecting us to a group and making sure we actually fit into that group, which was absolutely key to our survival. And for that reason, it's still in our brains. It's still rooted in there that we find gossip entertaining, that we want to participate in gossip, that we want to know the drama, to experience the drama, and to share the drama. And before I wrap up this video, I want to make a few closing statements, and they are these. I started this video by saying that I used to call The Bachelor my guilty pleasure, but I don't anymore. That's because while doing this research, I found that science has proven that having a guilty pleasure is good for you. And that's because the brain just treats this as it does any pleasurable experience. However, when you start feeling guilty about it or feeling embarrassed about this thing that makes you happy, it no longer is beneficial to you. And that's why it's so important to lose the guilt. When you look at the very foundations of it, The Bachelor is no different than NHL, NFL, NBA, or any other sport. It gives people the opportunity to get together, to share a common experience, to really fight about who you think is going to win, and get angry when your chosen candidate loses. Not one is any mind-numbing than the other. However, only one seems to feel embarrassing. While the truth is that neither of them deserve to be something that you're embarrassed about. So watch The Bachelor. Be happy about it. Share it to the world. It's not embarrassing. It's not your guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. And you should remember that so that your brain can get the most boost of dopamine that it possibly can. And with that, I want to say that if you are still here at the end, if you are hearing me say this right now, I urge you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. It means that you liked this video enough to get to the end, which is incredible. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you can see more content like this in the future. And connected to this, if you have any video ideas that you really want to see me cover, whether that be an entire new type of video or a psychological commentary on a different TV show, let me know, because there's a very high probability that I can make that happen. And with that, I think we can wrap up the video. Stay safe and stay happy, and I will see you next Monday.